Hello, everyone. We are halfway through the spring regular season for the LCS. We've finished one round robin. We had 3 regular weeks and then 1 super week, and we got 1 more of the same coming up. And I figured now is as good a time as any to update kind of perceptions of how well the teams are performing and do an LCS power ranking based on current performance level. So, of course, I like to do preseason power rankings, and I did that this year a couple months ago, where I projected out based on what happened in the offseason, where do I think the teams are going to end up by the end of summer on how good they could be, and put a range on that. But this is going to be more simple, more straightforward. And I'm just going to say purely how well are the teams performing right now and rank them on a 1 to 10 from that, okay? So I'm going to be using a few different sources of information, and I'm just going to grab a couple things, throw a list in, iterate on it, refine it, and see where we end up. I have a lot of ideas in place already about how good I think the teams are and how well they're performing. I'm going to have to go back through some of my notes and see if I, remind myself of things, but I don't have a pre-existing idea of how most of the teams compare to one another. So we'll be discovering this as we go. So what I want to do is I'm going to get a couple different ways that we could rank the teams. And of course, I could just go in and say, gut feel, here's my 10. But let's start by looking at, of course, just the basic way, their win-loss records. So you'd get C9, TL, 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians, Fly all at 5. Yeah, I hate how 100 Thieves gets treated as a number and put left every time. You got EG, Immortals, and Dig all at 4 wins. And you've got CLG at 3 and TSM at 1. Okay, so of course this is not the entire point of a power ranking is to go outside of the official standings. So what if we go on a statistical metric? If we go on gold spent percentage difference, which is a margin of victory or defeat metric that I created like 7 years ago, and I think is still very useful, and even though nobody other than me seems to really use it, we would have C9. We'd have TL. No, so far the same. Did I sort this right? Yeah, it's sorting. Here we go. Now so it starts to get different. EG jumps up to 4th. Golden Guardians, Fly, IMT, Dig. So a little, you can see a few differences based on how well they're performing, how badly they've lost, and how convincingly they've won. Evil Geniuses jump up 2 spots into top 4, which I would say to me matches the gut test, fairly well. I think this is what I would kind of expect to happen there. And the rest of it, this is actually pretty unusual over 9 games to have it, the GSPD and the win-loss match so closely. If we do it on goal percent rating, this is a similar goal. This is how much of the time they spend playing from behind or ahead, and by how much. It's probably going to be fairly. Oh no, a big difference. Golden Guardians playing from ahead a ton. You do have to be careful with some of these metrics when you have stuff like, alternative strategies that mess with gold distribution. Obviously, like the roaming smite enchanter's top. That messes a lot with certain gold metrics. But when you look at Golden Guardians and, how much time they're spending playing with big leads, they've got a pretty good early game rating. They do lead the league in gold difference at 15 minutes. They're getting the most turret plates per game. It would be useful to have the opponent turret plates per game here. So this tells you something about Golden Guardians. What you also then have to ask is, when they have so much advantage, why are they not closing the games out? And just being ahead does not win you the game. And so that that comes in on trying to understand why you criticize Golden Guardians. And we'll get into the actual whys of this, just going into some numbers just as a place to start. And anything else that I want to pull out of this? Yeah, I want to pull how they performed in the last 2 weeks only. And if we go in the last 2 weeks based on gold spent percentage difference, then we get a ranking of C9, IMT playing second. And this is going to, strength of schedule is going to affect this because, of course, we have, when you have a full round robin, everybody's played everybody else once. When you're only looking at 5 games, you have to check who did they play against. Now, in the last 2 weekends, Dignitas has performed the worst. TSM and Dig are both 1 and 4, but Dig have been much weaker statistically, fell behind more early on, lost by larger margins, all that kind of stuff. So let's take stock a little bit. Now, if I then just put my gut, or I could even put my preseason expectations in here, if I can remember them, and I didn't pull them up. My preseason expectations were, obviously, some of that was going to be way off based on what we've learned so far. TSM most notably, and Cloud9. I believe I had TL, 100 Thieves, EG, TSM, C9. Now, this is where I can't remember exactly what order I had them in, but there wasn't a lot of difference. It was like, did I have Fly 9 or GG 9? I had like GG, IMT, CLG all in this range. And then I think Dig and then Fly. I think this is what I basically had, more or less. Now, my gut feeling on how they're playing right now is that despite Cloud9 being ahead in a lot of metrics and things, I think Team Liquid, of course, big piece of context, Core JJ has not been playing all the games. When he's in, they do look better. And TL is going to be number 1. Now, my gut is TSM 10, but I'm not sure. And that I would put Dig 9. Of course, CLG being 9th in the standings and 9th in a lot of overall metrics, doesn't get at what their current trajectory is. They have been performing better lately, and I think they have been trending upwards while Dig have been trending downwards. So I would lean towards probably CLG 8. Then you have FlyQuest and Immortals, which is a bit tough. FlyQuest is the one I want to examine a bit. If I look at FlyQuest's profile here, so in their last 5, they've played Cloud9, 100 Thieves, EG, middle of the pack kind of. So they've played 2 top teams, but overall they haven't had a super difficult last 5. And yet their last 5 has been not the greatest. Whereas compared to CLG, their last 5 have been against EG, TL, C9. Yeah, similar strength of schedule, I would say. And who else would I want to compare them against? IMT jumping way up. Why is that? They've played all bottom teams, or, mid-tier teams with EG and FlyQuest, or even Gold Guardians, I would say. They haven't played TL or 100 Thieves or C9 in their last 5. So Immortals, this could be a little bit misleading, their strong schedule lately. So, if I'm going on gut a little bit here, and I'll continue to refine this, I would put Immortals below Fly, but I think ahead of CLG. This is one that I'm not locked on for sure. And then you get this middle pack where we've got EG, 100 Thieves, C9, and Golden Guardians. Of course, if you just go head-to-head, Evil Genius has smashed Golden Guardians recently. I think you can put them here pretty easily. And again, on gut here, I think 100 Thieves and EG, I'm not entirely sure about. Because both teams, I think both 100 Thieves and EG are better than they have looked in certain ways. 100 Thieves have looked, kind of third place team, but I think they could definitely move up on that. Golden Guardians did beat Team Liquid, but they beat Team Liquid in a way that gave me confidence in Golden Guardians, but didn't take away from TL. TL was not at full strength. And it was one of those like one game in a best of 5 that things go right and you win the game, but I wouldn't expect you to win 2 more necessarily. So this is kind of where I'm sitting on initial gut feeling. And the question is, who do I want to move? Let's talk a little bit about, because I'm not sure about Dignitas and TSM either. Well, no. So I guess I lean a little bit towards feeling like TSM can be okay, because I believe they can still, especially if they bring Shenyi back in, and if he's feeling more comfortable, if the team is clicking together again, I think they'll be okay. But until we see them, like right now, the level they're playing at is not as good as I expect them to be, but I am ranking them on how well they're playing right now. And I can't justify putting TSM higher in a current strength ranking. If I was going to say, predicting how I would rank their current strength 4 weeks from now, I think TSM could climb above 1 or 2 teams. Maybe even 3 or 4. But I can't give them credit for that without seeing it happen, right? So TSM have to stay 10th. I think I'm going to lock that. TL first, I'm going to lock that. I'm very comfortable with that. Now this bottom one, Dignitas, like they started pretty strong. Of course, they had some impressive stuff in lock-in. Rivers playing really well. I think Biofrost has played better than I expected him to. But overall, I just think they have some weaknesses that are going to keep getting exploited. And I think teams are figuring out how to beat them, and I'm not sure they can recover from that. The only team I would consider putting below Dignitas right now would be CLG, I guess, but like without spending 10 minutes reading through all my game notes on CLG, they beat C9 in that, the first post-LS game, which hard to know how much credit to give them for that, with the team being kind of knocked off balance. They beat EG. This was probably the most impressive win. They beat EG really, really nicely. They beat CLG convincingly, or TSM rather. Yeah. I think CLG definitely need to be above Dignitas for me. So that brings it into this kind of mid group. Would I be tempted to put CLG? Like, I am tempted to put CLG above Immortals, but would I go for it? Based on how they're playing right now, Immortals beat CLG last time they played, and I should look at my notes on that game. So I'm just going to pull them up. I'm not going to put it all on screen. It's too much text anyways. But let me just read through that for a second. So CLG are playing Gangplank, Gwen, Ryze, Jin, Tom Kench. Immortals are playing Akali, Xin Zhao, Orianna, Caitlyn, Karma. Contracts gets an early double kill on a level 3 invade, I think. Wild Turtle and Destiny get Poom's Flash. Revenge defends a tower dive. Where did this game turn? I'm just scanning through my notes. Seems like I have a lot of notes about what Contracts was doing. Luger got picked off around 14:30. Maybe I don't have a view set up to show what I'm looking at in my notes here, but I've got about 400, 500 words of notes, which is pretty average for a given game, which is why it's taking me a moment to go through it. 25 minutes, Immortals baited Baron, and I think this was a multi-minute sequence of Baron baiting and Immortals getting it. A good Orianna game from Power of Evil. So, yeah, I think based on what happened the last time they played and just overall what both teams have been showing me so far, I feel okay putting Immortals over CLG. I think CLG have the potential to look better than Immortals. But I think Revenge is having a good season. Power of Evil can get his comfort without too much trouble. CLG can beat Immortals, and I think it'd be a really close best of 5. But I think right now Immortals are playing a little bit better. That's my sense on it. This one's close for me. FlyQuest and Golden Guardians. So again, this is a team where I was going to say I feel like Golden Guardians has been trending up, but of course in their last 5 games, they have definitely not been. I think them beating Evil Geniuses definitely looked good for me. Who else? What was their other run of games recently? So they lost to 100 Thieves. That's understandable. They beat Dignitas. They beat TL in that game where they just, their bottom lane, Ole had a great game, and they just managed to make things work that way. Oh, sorry. EG beat Golden Guardians. I was talking about that before, and then they beat Immortals. Compare that to how FlyQuest has been doing, and to the extent that I remember without going through my notes all these games. So they lost their last 3, FlyQuest have. That's probably what's leaving a bit of a negative taste in my mouth about them. But they beat Dignitas, they beat 100 Thieves, which is pretty impressive. But then they lost to EG, FlyQuest, and C9. I think losing to C9, or sorry, to EG, Immortals, and C9. I think losing to EG and C9 is nothing to be worried about. I wouldn't expect them to be a top 4 team. The Immortals game, though, I don't know if it's worth kind of going through my notes on that one, but whereas Golden Guardians, so I'm going to base this on what would I expect to happen, what would I predict to happen if FlyQuest and Golden Guardians went up in a best of 5 against each other right now. I've been pretty impressed with Golden Guardians bot lane. I thought they'd be fine. I thought, I was relatively high on Lost, and I still am compared to the broader perception. But Ole has also looked better than I expected. Compared to the FlyQuest bottom lane has been pretty good too. I think the bottom lane would go pretty equal. I think one thing I'd worry about in a best of 5 with Golden Guardians is what happens with Pride Stalker's champion pool. He needs, he is playing a little bit more like, here, what has he been playing lately? I'm not sure if you'll be able to, here, I'll give you a view of the whole window here. So the last 5 games, Pride Stalker's been playing Xin Zhao, Udyr, and Hecarim. So he's been playing more standard lately. He hasn't been bringing out, the Zed, the Zed stuff and all of that, which is nice to have there, but I didn't, I was worried early on that he was becoming reliant on it. And the Xin Zhao is like pocket pick for him, like ultra comfort for him. He's going a little more standard, which I feel good about. But how does that make me feel overall on him? Hard to say. I think jungle matchup would go fairly even. I give Licorice an edge, and I give a Blaze Olive a little bit, pretty even in the mid lane performance from both of them. Overall, these two teams are really closely matched, and I don't even know how what I personally feel they're better, who's performing better right now. I think Golden Guardians, I like having a team that's in a place of pretty consistently getting early leads and then just figuring out how to close games. I think it's easier to learn how to close games than it is to learn how to fix the early game. And that's probably going to be the main differentiator for me, that I think Golden Guardians have done fairly well in that early aspect. Don't go too much on just the numbers because of these different strategies that they can use, but I think it's easier to coach in macro and closing when you have a lead. So I'm going to lock those two in. I definitely can't put either EG or 100 Thieves over C9 or TL. And I also think that with Core JJ settling in, I don't see myself talking Cloud9 up over TL with Core JJ back. So, which is not to say that Cloud9 couldn't beat TL in a best of 5, or even that it wouldn't be close, but I just don't think you can easily argue TL out of the first spot right now with a Core JJ based one. So that leaves 100 Thieves and EG. And I think that this one would have been more difficult if EG had gone 3-0 last week. But they didn't. Now 100 Thieves went 1-2 last week, and EG went 2-1. They lost to Cloud9, which I think is fine and maybe expected based on kind of the power curves the two teams have been showing. They beat TSM. They lost to Dignitas. Before that, they lost to FlyQuest and beat Golden Guardians. EG recently lost to TL, lost to IMT, beat FlyQuest, beat Golden Guardians, lost to CLG. It's so tough to differentiate between how are they playing right now and what would I expect versus how good do I think they should be in the next 2-3 weeks, assuming that everything kind of is working and they're managing to fix their problems. Man, when you look at the last 5 gold metrics, EG is climbing up there. When you look at their overall season gold metrics, 100 Thieves is a little bit ahead on both. I definitely give 100 Thieves the benefit of the doubt on this one, which is why I, just on initial cut, put them 3rd and EG 4th, because I see a lot of issues in EG just making mistakes. I think 100 Thieves have been making a lot of mistakes too, but the EG ones have been more noticeable to me. And in an actual matchup of these two teams, again, like using kind of the mental test of what would happen in a best of 5 between them, I think FBI and Huhi would be favored to win a bot lane play. I think they have a very stable mid that can punish any mistakes JoJo makes. I think they are a very stable team fighting team. Again, like onus would be on EG to force something and outplay 100 Thieves, because 100 Thieves are going to be the more stable team. And with the level of mistake making that EG has still been doing, and also I think 100 Thieves drafting has been more stable. Those are the reasons that I think I would leave it in this order and put 100 Thieves 3rd, EG 4th. So how do I feel about this? I don't think there's anything in here like that kind of screams to me and like violates my gut feeling. TL 1st, Cloud9 2nd, 100 Thieves 3rd, Evil Geniuses 4th, Golden Guardians 5th, FlyQuest 6th, Immortal 7th, CLG 8th, Dignitas 9th, TSM 10th. Yeah, I think I feel pretty comfortable with landing on that. I could deliberate on this, review a lot of game notes, and maybe move 1 or 2 teams, 1 or 2 spots. But the real interesting thing is what's going to happen over the next few weeks as we have, Core JJ delivering on actually being back. As we have C9 continuing to prove like, hey, we've got good players and they can work well. And it's not just a bunch of creative drafting stuff that's winning us games. I think that's been a really good positive thing to show from them. What's going to happen with TSM? Are they going to be able to get themselves back on track? I think they certainly can. Can Dignitas start to look more like they did very early and not like they have very recently. Same story with FlyQuest. I think they looked really strong early and still look, not too bad now, but seem like they're slipping a little bit. Golden Guardians, are they actually a top 5 team? Because this is like, when you compare to preseason expectations, Golden Guardians being top 5, I think is a pretty big, obviously TSM being 10th is a big, surprise in a sense, a bit of a shock compared to expectations. But Golden Guardians being top 5 on the positive side, it's like, oh, somebody had to do it, but so far it seems to be them. So I'm going to sit on that. I'm going to let you guys argue about how you feel, which teams I'm overrating, underrating, which players I didn't mention that I should have, and who would make all the difference. Leave your own rankings in the comments based on current strength, again, how they're performing right now. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun discussion about it. Thanks for watching and supporting my content. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and check out the channel memberships if you want to get access to custom emojis, special roles in the Oracle's Elixir Discord, and other perks.